Does anyone remember watching this show? Because I do. Devious Maids is an American comedy drama and mystery series that aired on Lifetime. You guys remember Lifetime, right? The place with all those overdramatic movies with classics like My Killer Cheerleader Her Daughter or whatever. Well, back then, it used to air some really good shows. Devious Maids was released in 2013. I was 11 when I started watching this show. I should have been outside or something, but if my innocent eyes didn't watch this show, I wouldn't be talking about it today, would I? Devious Maids is based on the Mexican series Ellas son la alegría del hogar, created by Eugenio Derbez. The show stars Ana Ortiz, Dania Ramirez, Judy Reyes, and Rosalind Sanchez as the main leads. The show takes place inside Beverly Hills, California, and it follows the lives of our 5 lead protagonists, Carmen Luna, Zoila Diaz, Rosie Falta, Marisol Suarez, and our recently deceased Flora Hernandez. The first season tackles the mysterious death and murder of the youngest maid, Flora Hernandez. Flora really lived an eventful life, and today we will be breaking down the lives of the main maids, the main families, and solving the untimely murder of Flora Hernandez. From the opening scene, we are introduced to one of the more powerful households, the Powell family, comprised of Adrian and Evelyn Powell. Adrian and Evelyn have an interesting dynamic to say the least. They hate each other and don't share much affection. Flora works for them, but is currently having an affair with Adrian. Evelyn tells her off, threatening to have her deported if she doesn't stop sleeping with her husband. Flora agrees to stop, but takes offense when Adrian doesn't defend her. As Adrian and Evelyn return to their party, a scorned Flora writes a letter to Adrian in which she states that Adrian knows the truth and that she was assaulted by someone Adrian knows. As she hides the note, an attacker enters the room and fatally stabs her. Flora manages to escape, only to fall into the pool and die, but out comes Eddie holding the knife, and he is arrested for Flora's murder. From that scene, we are introduced to Marisol, a new maid in Beverly Hills. She lands a job working for the Staffords. Michael is a high-ranking attorney, and Taylor is his young new wife. Although a bit rocky due to Michael leaving his first wife Olivia for Taylor, these two do have a genuine love for each other, one of the more normal couples in this series. Next is Carmen. Now, I'm going to be honest. Carmen is one of my least favorite characters this season. I feel like her character develops, plummets, and she's all over the place, and it pisses me off. Carmen works for the famous Latin singer Alejandro Rubio, who is still in the closet. Alejandro reminds me of Ricky Martin. I think that was the info for his character, but I won't mention them all too much because they don't really matter to the overall plot. Carmen and them are really just there, but Carmen is a wannabe singer. She craves to be a pop star even though she is 37 years old. She can't form new relationships because she's afraid people are going to ruin her dreams or they just don't understand her. Carmen enters a relationship with Sam, the butler. Carmen is just a very selfish and messy person. She tends to piss me off the most, but 2 other people take the top spots for me, and you will meet them. Trust me. Zoila and her daughter Valentina work for the Delator family. Genevieve de la Torre is your average older woman, desperate for male attention and validation. She's obsessed with her appearance and money, but doesn't really care about her son Remy. Remy is in med school. He's your typical frat boy. I won't dread on him too much because the show doesn't really build his character throughout the first season, in my opinion. All you have to know is that Valentina has a gigantic crush on Remy, much to the dismay of her mother Zoila. Last but not least, we have Rosie. Rosie, I'd say, is the most likable character in the series, sometimes due to how innocent, caring, and naive she is. Rosie is the mother of Miguel, who is still in Mexico, and she is trying her best to bring him to live with her. Rosie works for the Westmores. Perry is a young, newer actress, and she's married to Spence, a more washed-up actor. They have a son together, Tucker, but they don't really care about him. Rosie does all the work. Perry is very self-absorbed and career-focused, and Spence is just there. I hate this man, and you will learn why. By episode 2, Perry Westmore is shown cheating on her husband, Spence, with her co-star Cody. It's clear that they have a pretty awful marriage. I genuinely don't know why they are together. It's not like Spence is an iconic actor by any means, so she can just divorce him and get it over with. Marisol is actually the mother of Eddie Suarez, the boy who's been accused of murdering Flora Hernandez. She's going undercover as a maid to try and find any evidence that will exonerate her son. Marisol has found a way to get into the Powell household, and Adrian takes an immediate interest in her, which, of course, he would. A bunch of creepy older men just roam around Beverly Hills, huh? Anyways, in the end, Marisol finds a letter that Flora wrote. She knows that Flora was assaulted, but before she can keep it, Adrian snatches it out of her hand and he later destroys it. In episode 3, we discover through Olivia, Michael's ex-wife, that Taylor used to be an escort. In fact, that's how Michael and her met. Taylor worked for Adrian Powell. He's essentially running a brothel out of his home, much to the disgust of his wife, Evelyn. Adrian calls them intimate get-togethers in which he gets escorts as gifts for his rich and lonely friends. The girls get paid, but the men don't know that the women have been paid for the evening. Evelyn calls this Adrian's disgusting little hobby because Adrian likes to watch. He's a voyeur. He's only broken it for Flora, someone who he was infatuated with. Rosie needs some extra money to help with some legal proceedings regarding Miguel, and she asks for a loan in advance from the Westmorns. Perry says no, but Spencer writes her a check. She gives him a hug, and when she feels his lower region, she's immediately terrified. She goes to tell the girls, and she says that he's very well versed down there, that God has blessed them.
He had an erection? Yes. A boner. Un salchichón de cemento.
By the end of the episode, Spencer reveals that he has feelings for Rosie, which I hate because, sir, you are married and you have a child. Please leave the maid alone. I hate Spence, and I especially hate Rosie and Spence together. Fight with the wall, they do not work well together. While cleaning Flora's room, Marisol finds a pregnancy stick inside her dresser, and it's positive. Basically, Flora's plan was to get pregnant by a rich man, baby trap him, and milk him for millions, and she'll be set for life, but of course, it didn't work, because look at where it got her. On the coroner's report, it states that Flora was not pregnant, but it's been revised. Marisol gets a hold of the real report, and we discover that Flora was in fact pregnant. That information was hidden on purpose. After overhearing Perry say that he's not a great actor, Spence looks at Rosie, drags her off to the laundry room, and kisses her, and Rosie kisses him back. No. In episode 5, we learn that Adrian and Evelyn had a child together, Barrett, but he died when he was young. Adrian blames Evelyn as she took her eyes off him. This is why he's so cold towards her. Adrian hasn't forgiven her, but every year they celebrate his birthday by buying him a nice gift and blowing out his birthday candles. One thing they can agree on is that they love their son. It's the only thing that brings them together. They made a deal. If Adrian were to stay, he'd need to have his needs satisfied in other ways since he refuses to touch Evelyn ever again. We learn that Eddie is actually Marisol's adopted son, and while in jail, Eddie remembers that Flora said to someone, "It's on video." John Piev's business manager runs off with all the money, leaving her broke. He stole Remy's trust fund as well, prompting Remy to start using drugs again. One thing we know is that Michael Stafford is the Delator family's lawyer. He helps him out with the case. Genevieve is so desperate for money that she asks her cheating ex-husband for some help, only for him to offer her a $1 million painting if she sleeps with him. The audacity of this man is truly out of this world. She agrees, and her money troubles are temporarily resolved. Rosie and Spence start sleeping together. They are clearly just using each other for sex. It's a lust-based relationship. All we ever see of them is them sleeping together, I swear. But after Spence finishes, he actually ends up having a heart attack, and Rosie takes him to the hospital, but he's fine. It's not a big deal. Marisol ends up finding some of the DVDs that Adrian has of his friends sleeping with the escorts, and Marisol sees a video of none other than Michael and Taylor together. Marisol tells them, much to their disgust and shock. Michael heads over to Adrian's house, punches him around, and demands the videos of him and Taylor. Evelyn shows Marisol where the rest are kept and hidden, seeing that there's at least 10 for Flora. After they get the tapes, Evelyn, of course, fires Marisol. But later, Michael calls Adrian and apologizes to him. Michael actually wanted the video of him and Flora, but it's not the type of video you think. Adrian states that he destroyed it a long time ago, but of course, that's not true. He still has it. Marisol begins to feel guilty about using the girls after they gift her some cash since she lost her job with the Powells. At the supermarket, a former student recognizes Marisol, calling her Professor Suarez. Marisol plays dumb, but Rosie starts to grow suspicious. Later, Rosie does some Google searching and discovers that Marisol is actually a professor of English with a PhD, so she's never been a maid. After Rosie confronts her, Marisol admits that she's here to get her son out of jail. Rosie leaves, but she drops her phone. Marisol finds it and discovers that Rosie is having an affair with Spence and uses it against her. She makes her a deal. If Rosie keeps her secret under wraps, she'll keep Rosie's. And Rosie angrily agrees. Remy tells Valentina that he's been using cocaine again. Valentina tells Zoila, and we discover that this isn't the first time, because of course it isn't. He's a rich kid. Zoila calls Philippe to take Remy into rehab, and we don't see Remy for a good while, but I think this is because Juven Akers, Remy's actor, was also shooting for Pretty Little Liars during this time, so they cut him out so he could film for that. That's my guess. Not much happens, but Rosie starts working for the Powells and she manages to get her hands on the 10th DVD. In the video, it shows Michael Stafford meeting with Flora. He tells her that his client has agreed to a settlement to put the mess behind him. If Flora keeps her mouth shut, she'll get a check. Flora takes one look at the number and is immediately disgusted. She wants more. Flora agreed to sleep with him, but once she knew who he was, she told him to stop, and he didn't. As Michael is about to leave, Flora drops a bomb. She's expecting a child. It's not Michael's client, but someone very close to him. After this, Marisol is determined to find out who the father of Flora's baby is. It's clearly not Eddie, but instead it's one of Eddie's friends, or as we later learn, his clients. In episode 10, Remy returns home from rehab. He tells Valentina that she saved his life, and they finally kiss and start seeing each other. Taylor reveals that she's pregnant. Michael and her are very happy. But later at Taylor's baby reveal party, Olivia, Michael's deranged ex-wife, decides to hang herself outside their home, but don't worry, she's alive and okay. She just really needs help. Marisol finds out that Eddie was running a small business selling drugs to the rich kids of Beverly Hills. Flora met with the buyers, and then we meet Brad, which was one of Eddie's business partner and friend. Brad reveals that Flora was cheating on Eddie with one of their clients, and that client is none other than Remy Delator. Flora was also seeing Remy. In episode 11, while driving home, Perry Westmore hits a jogger with a car and leaves him for dead, prompting Rosie to act and help him receive medical attention. Rosie is disgusted with Perry's selfishness, and she cuts her off for good. Rosie punishes Perry for being a bad person by continuing to sleep with Spence because she deserves to be happy. Marisol and Eddie's lawyer, Ida, plot for Remy to meet with Michael to see if Remy knew if that Flora was pregnant. Obviously, he didn't. He's just as surprised as anyone else. Later, Remy meets with Ida since he believes that Michael isn't being honest with him. Ida shows him the video of Michael and Flora. Genevieve is wooed by her ex-husband Philippe once again, and she falls for his charms even after Zoila proves that he's still a cheating loser. Jen still wants to marry him. Like I said, she's desperate for attention and most of all, money. While celebrating their engagement, Zoila announces her displeasure with Philippe, to which Philippe goes on a rant about how Zoila doesn't belong in the family and blah 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 blah. A bunch of nothing, but once he insults Valentina, Remy swings and punches his father in the face. Philippe falls back, and Remy leans over and whispers something into his ear that shocks him. Spence returns from New York and proposes to Rosie, which is just no. It's a relationship based entirely on lust, my dear. What do you see in this man that I don't? I don't understand it. But Rosie opens her mouth to say yes, and she accepts his ring. Remy finally confronts his father about Flora. Remy says that he'll call the cops because he thinks his father murdered Flora Hernandez. Remy recounts all the facts, and Philippe swears to Remy that he didn't kill Flora. We learn that Flora was a gift from Adrian to Philippe. Philippe admits that once Flora found out about who he was, she didn't want to sleep with him anymore. But then Philippe opens his mouth to say the most deranged thing possible. He justified his actions by saying that escorts can't say no, admitting that he assaulted her. Oh God. After Remy hears his father say this, we want to know what he does. Instead of, I don't know, going to the cops or telling someone, or maybe like warn your mom that she's going to marry a complete psycho, he decides it'd be best if he left the country and went to Africa to help out with the clinics there, and he wants Valentina to go with him. The same Valentina that was supposed to start fashion school in the fall. The audacity of these men is insane. To cleanse the palate a bit, Perry tells Rosie that she's going to Mexico and will bring Miguel back with her if Rosie's mother will bring him to the airport. Rosie is extremely grateful and hugs Perry. But here comes Spence. He begs Rosie to keep the relationship going even after Perry has decided to bring her son to America for her. Rosie gives Spence the ring back, as she should, and she calls it quits. But then Spence goes to Perry and tells her that maybe they shouldn't bring Miguel, that they should wait. He is just desperate to keep Rosie on his side so he can continue to sleep with her with no interruptions. But of course, Perry doesn't let up and she leaves. Perry comes back from Mexico with Miguel, and Rosie's extremely grateful to see him. Rosie finds out that Spence wanted to wait to bring Miguel here, which angers her. Michael tells Philippe that Marisol has been asking questions about him and Flora. They think she's a reporter and they look into it. By this point, it's safe to say that Michael is working for Philippe and that he's helped cover up his messes. Behind Michael's back, Philippe pays some idiot to try and kill Marisol. Michael picks up on the cues and immediately heads home to warn Marisol that she's not safe and that she needs to go. The shooter waits outside the Stafford home, ready to shoot Marisol, but he shoots Taylor instead. Taylor survives, but the baby doesn't. The season finale. Spencer admits to Rosie that he wanted to stop Perry from bringing Miguel to America, because instead of owing Perry, it would work better if Rosie owed Spence instead. At this point, Spence is just desperate to get Rosie back, and he's willing to adopt Miguel and marry Rosie. Miguel is in the kitchen. Rosie's phone rings. He answers it. It's Perry. She wants to speak with Rosie, so Miguel takes the phone and holds it up as both Spence and Rosie admit their love for each other. So now Perry feels scorned and like a complete fool. Alejandra pitches Carmen with the deal. If she agrees to be his wife, Carmen gets her Aquaman and she gets paid. The life she used to want, remember? But she's a changed person now or whatever. But if she accepts the deal, she'll need to give up Sam completely and become Alejandra's legal wife. The marriage will last 2 years, and Carmen opens her big mouth to ask Sam if he's willing to wait another 2 years for her, which is crazy, especially after telling this man that you didn't care about music anymore. But Carmen obviously chooses the music deal. Philippe asks the Powells if he can borrow the private jet, but of course they decline. Philippe wants to leave right after the engagement party. He wants to elope because he knows the doors are closing. Adrian and Evelyn come to the conclusion that Philippe lied. He was there the night Flora died. He was at the party even though he wasn't invited. They come to the conclusion that Philippe killed Flora and they plot their revenge. At the party, Marisol lures Philippe away and confronts him. Basically, here's how it went. Adrian gives Flora to Philippe. Philippe assaults her. Flora seeks to be compensated for what she endured. She speaks to Michael. Michael tells Philippe that Flora is pregnant with Remy's baby. She demands millions. So at the party, Philippe takes care of the problem. He kills Flora and plants a knife in Eddie's hands. The next day, Philippe tells Michael. And of course, Michael can't say anything because of attorney-client privilege, and they keep the secret to themselves. Philippe tries to buy Marisol off, grabbing a knife, ready to kill her. Before he can hurt her, Evelyn comes in and saves her. She takes Philippe to the lounge, locking the door behind her. Adrian meets with Philippe, hands him a drink with some sort of poison. Adrian then proceeds to throw Philippe out the window, and he falls in the pool, dead. A very poetic end. The police come, take statements, and Adrian tells them that Philippe shouted that he killed Flora Hernandez, and he couldn't live with himself and jumped off the balcony. The ladies, Rosie, Zoila, and Carmen, jump in to help, saying that they heard it too. And that's the end of the Flora Hernandez mystery. After everything, the ladies are all in the park, having a nice lunch. Eddie is there and out of jail, but just as things lighten up, there's always the fall. Ice shows up and they detain Rosie with Perry watching from afar as they take her. And that is the end to season 1 of Devious Maids. When I was rewatching the show, I forgot how good the pacing was. It works fast, it's easy to read, it's light and comedic. It was genuinely really good. I feel like it didn't drag until the end a little bit, but there's so much going on, but it's never too deep, you know? Everything happens, but it's pretty surface level. The show does deal with some darker elements, such as sexual assault, murder, microaggressions, racism, classism, sexism, but yet I think it does a good job of keeping it light regardless of how deep the themes go. Making this a comedy drama was smart. I recommend watching this season. I'm not too sure about the rest of the seasons because it does tend to flop in terms of story and quality in my opinion. I think the series would have worked better if with each new season we'd follow 4 new maids from different parts of the country, like an anthology. Regardless, I loved it. There's something strangely alluring about conniving women in the show particularly. Loved the Latino representation throughout. I mean, where else are you going to get 5 Latinas in a main cast? I'm happy we got something, and sure, you might argue that they're maids, it's stereotypical, but that's someone's real life job. Housekeepers, nannies, and maids are the backbone of a lot of communities. Anyways, stay safe, go outside, have fun, and write something. And I'll see you guys very soon. Bye!